Guys, welcome to this live masterclass. I'm really excited to get through the entire 7-step framework, and then also I'm excited to do the Q&A. If we've got some time, I'll do some live underwriting as well. Maybe we'll pick a market, we'll look at some deals, we'll run the numbers backwards, look at what the profit margin is, the cash in. Essentially what we're gonna cover today, we'll then implement and do some live as well, live underwriting. I like Redfin, Performa, we'll go through the whole 9 yards. So really excited. I see a lot of 7, so I'm glad the audio's working. Just let me know if you guys have any feedback or anything. Throw it in the chat as well. Let's see. We're good. So I see that. All right. Awesome. So this is going to be the framework, the entire 7-step process. We're going to lay it out for you guys. We're also going to share what our clientele is doing right now, how active we are, the projects we have in the pipeline, our story as well. So let's jump into it. Let's see here. So what you're going to walk away here. One, I know you're going to have that notepad, but if you can't keep up, just take the main things, anything that stands out, the gold nuggets, whatever really resonates with you, take note on that. And then we're going to answer all of the questions in the end. So we want to make sure that we answer all the questions that you guys have and make sure we cover it all. So one, understanding how much capital you need to get into this deal flow and deal. 2, walking through the 7-step process. This is the framework that we use to build our 250 doors. Plus we've got 100 doors in the pipeline right now. So we're very active in the real estate market. 3, I'm going to show you some people as well that took this 7-step framework and now are doing projects as well. A lot of them don't actually have real estate experience. So I see that some of you do have experience. This is a really big key for us, is following that framework. And then the 4th thing, we're going to show you what it looks like. You do it on your own or what it looks like with some help. So, Ruben, if you want to share a little bit on yourself.
Yeah, a little bit about myself. So I started in the construction industry with $250,000 in debt from my previous business. I started in the construction game by working as an assistant superintendent, assistant project manager for a national builder that probably all of you guys know here. I built my very first home on my own on the side while working this 9-to-5. Today, since then, for building that home, I actually got fired. More on that later. And I ended up building 240 houses since then. More now, but we just put that in the slides conservatively.
And my name is Arthur. I go by Arthur the Developer on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. I had no construction background. I actually came from the auto industry, and so I didn't understand real estate at all. I ended up building 6 homes on the side. I'll get more into my story, while working my full-time job and then quitting. And then now I've developed over 1,000 lots to date, residential. I've done some commercial as well, Dutch Bros, Jiffy Lube, Starbucks, Chipotle. And then also I've done over 100 doors in my name without me actually being the contractor or the GC, and subbing everything out, hiring the builder, putting the entire play together and walking through this 7-step process on my own. Let's see. Go ahead, Ruben.
So this is exactly what Arthur just said. This is visually, you can see one of our 15-unit apartments up there in the top corner. This right here is a project off of 112th here in Vancouver, Washington. And today, actually, Arthur has done over 1,000 lots, and he would sell them off to national builders. And since we've started the Buildup community together, we have scaled across 17 states, and we build pretty much anywhere in the United States where we have clients. These are some of the projects that we've done, mostly residential. You'll see a few commercial projects here.
I always say if there's new construction happening in that city or state, there's profit to be made. So unless you're in the middle of nowhere where there's zero construction, if there's new construction homes, there is money to be made. A little bit on my story. Again, before I was in the auto industry, I actually really love Subarus. We're in the Northwest. I'd buy all sorts of Subarus, the Foresters, Outbacks, everything. And then I'd buy these STIs, if any of you know what they are. I'd put some wheels on it, make it look cool, and then sell it for a profit. So I was in the auto space. I did sales for cars, and then I would also buy and sell some cars for a profit. I'd actually fix and sell them, similar to maybe like somebody would do fix and flip. I actually wanted to get into the fix and flip game, but I couldn't get an entry in. It took me 4 years to finally do my first real estate deal. 4 years from when I said I want to do real estate to me actually getting that first deal done. And one of those real estate deals was the same thing as me flipping 20 cars. That was my aha moment of $47,000 of profit. I wasn't actually the one operating the deal. That was the builder. I wasn't the one finding the deals. That was my agents and that was my wholesalers. And I didn't even need all the cash because I would flip these cars for cash. I only had to put 10% down. So my down payment was 50 and my profit was 47. I doubled my money. When I'm talking the money that left my bank account, we're actually gonna get into the cash on cash. And so you guys will learn that entire process. And what's really cool is we have over 340 doors combined with our Buildup community out of the 511. I'll share more on what 511 means, what it stands for as we continue to break it out. So my journey, first home, 47,000. I was working a full-time job and I was like, this is crazy that you can do this while working a full-time job. So I really learned the game of leverage. We're gonna walk through leverage, what that looks like. Then I built my second home, which was my personal house. If you guys don't know, you can put 5% down on your personal home and there's a tax-free benefit of up to $500,000. It's not deferring tax, literally tax-free, tax exempt. You don't have to pay $1. You can have all the money in your bank account. People mix that up with 1031 exchange, which is investments. We'll cover that as well. But I ended up taking 56,000 and turning it into 335. You might ask how? Well, instead of putting 10% down, I put 5% down. I specifically chose the right product for the right area and I got to ride the market. And that's what we're going to chime into today. And then my current home, I'm at 278,000 of equity using 62 grand down. That's on the appraised value. As Ruben would say, it's worth a lot more than that. The bank said it's worth 900,000. Ruben thinks I could get 1.2 for it. I do plan on building my next home after this, so we'll see if I can get that 1.2. If so, I'll break a new record for a personal house and the profit on that side of things.
A little bit about my story. So many people come to me and they say it's impossible to get into construction. I have zero experience. I don't know what I'm doing. And my story is probably a whole lot worse than yours. You are in a better starting place than I was. $250,000 in debt. I had to settle my debt. I could not pay it. I started with simply picking up trash around the job sites, doing simple to-do checklists. We call them punch lists. I was doing the stuff that nobody wants to. And at the end of the day, I was watching the national home builder, although they might have been $1 billion company, I watched them sell these houses without a problem and make all of the profit. And I thought to myself, I was like, I'm managing these projects. How hard could it be to take on my own? And that's when I decided to become the actual builder, the actual developer myself. A little bit about my first deal. Since I was in debt, since I had a bad credit score, I didn't have the cash to actually bring the money for the deal. I brought on an investor. So I didn't need credit. I didn't need capital. All I did was split the profit. My first home, I made $53,000 of profit using none of my own money, not my own credit. And I built this home, sold it for a profit. A few homes in between. My second actual personal house that I moved into, same strategy as Arthur. It's the tax-free game. I made $248,000 of profit in that 8-lot subdivision that Arthur developed. And then currently on my current home, instead of selling it, I decided to pull a HELOC instead. That's essentially a line of credit against the house. I pulled a $252,000 HELOC and I'm using that in projects today to make a profit. So,
and then you've got your third house that's not on here that he's about 70% done with. So he's working through that as well.
So the summary is today you are starting from a stronger position than I was, and anybody can get into this game because you can pay for experience. That's simply called hiring a GC. You can have people find deals for you, like a wholesaler, like an agent. And so we're going to show you that here shortly.
So when I said I built my first house, I realized I don't have to have the cash. I would put in a few thousand into a car, add some upgrades, sell it, make a profit. Here, I had to put 10% down. The bank was technically my majority partner at 90%, but I got to keep all the profit. I just had to pay the interest. And so that's where this leveraged ecosystem is something we've created. And this is the system you run with and understand before we jump into the 7 steps. So I want you guys to understand, as that developer, really your role, what you're actually doing is you're finding deals or you're getting deals brought to you. So I like to have deals brought to the table. I'm not the one reaching out. 80 or 90% of the deals come to me. I underwrite it, I look at it, I make sure it pencils, and then I either make the offer or I pass. So you're the one that's getting the deal flow coming to you and you're underwriting it to make sure it locks in and pencils, and then you're leveraging out to these 4 people. First, you have the lender. They're giving you 85 to 90% of the project capital. You're bringing down that 10 to 15%. If it's the personal house game, 5%. Then you've got the drafter or architect. Here's the difference. We're going to cover this when we go through the plans and design, but you don't actually need an architect. You only need a drafter. but this person's going to give you the layouts, what it looks like for design, what you're going to configure. You're the one steering that ship and telling them what product type is best for the area. We'll cover that as well. But the drafter is the one actually doing the hard work. Then you've got the agent. The agent's going to sell the deals for you. One big key thing, guys, just because somebody has a license does not mean they are good. I know this sounds a little harsh, but it's just based on our experience. That's what we've noticed. And then I started doing some research. I'm like, I'm actually curious, how many agents close deals? I looked it up. 90% of agents don't actually close a deal every year within their 5-year period. So if you look at an agent that's been around for 5 years, they have their license, they don't close a deal every year. To me, that's a big red flag. Okay, so they're not actually experienced, they just passed a test. The 10% that do, out of the 10%, so 100 people, 10 of them are actually closing deals every year. Out of those 10, 2 of them are doing most of the volume. So there's actually only 2% of agents that are really good. That agent is a key when it comes to building out this ecosystem. Then you've got the builder, the one that's going to do a cost plus contract. They're going to build the project out for you. You're going to get a cost plus, meaning you're paying them a builder fee on top of those costs. And they like to work with investors and people like that because it's a different structure than a client builder who is upcharging everything. And so you got this entire ecosystem. Go ahead, Ruben. Any thoughts on it?
No, this is perfect. At the end of the day, this is how Arthur was able to build 6 homes while working a full-time job. Otherwise, without using other people and hiring the professionals, this ecosystem would not work because you physically aren't able to build 6 houses full-time without having to actually hire subcontractors.
Awesome. Guys, put a 7 in the chat if you're seeing the bigger picture, you're excited to go through the entire 7-step framework, and you're looking forward to it. Let's see here. All right, awesome. I see 7s in the chat. Let's go. I love it. All right, before we jump into that, I want to give you guys the next framework. The next framework is, if I was to step back and I was to restart and look at this as what's the easiest way to become successful in this development game, it's these 3 stages. 0, you're in the beginning stage. Maybe you're an agent, you're a wholesaler, a loan officer, you work a 9 to 5, self-employed, business owner. You're somebody just in this interested, right? You're in that bucket. But then you have these 3 stages. The first stage is you have to understand how to master finding deals. You have to understand what is it to find a deal. It doesn't mean you're the one always searching. The deals could come to you, but you have to understand what deal flow looks like. Now, if somebody is in this bucket and they're only sticking to level 1 and they're not jumping to the next level, then that means they're selling deals off. You could be called a wholesaler, a middleman, but this is in the development game specifically. If I had no money and I had to restart and all I had is my knowledge, I'd be a deal finder. I understand that I can get paid $5 to $30K per deal by me simply finding the deal, understanding what product I'm going to build for that area, build out a pro forma showing what a builder could build, and then I'm going to pitch the deal to the builder at a $5 to $30K upcharge. What happens is I never actually have to buy the land. And I get paid because I'm the one that understands the deal and I'm the one that found that deal. The timeline is 14 days to 60. If you're doing the wholesale game, you can do a quick close cash. It could be on a single family home. Sometimes if you're doing land, it could take a little longer because they're working through the permitting. And then it could just be a traditional buyer buying it that takes 60 days to close. The cash you need for this, 0 if you're driving for dollars, you're finding deals, you're calling them directly, up to $5 grand if you have an entire marketing channel working. Again, that role is that middleman.
So for stage number 2, if you were to restart, just like Arthur mentioned, this is the builder stage. There's 2 kind of ways that you can go here. You can either hire a builder, like Arthur mentioned, or you could be the builder yourself. The profit on this stage is anywhere from $50,000 a deal up to $250,000 a deal, depending on the size of the deal. The timeline, 6 to 12 months to complete one of these deals. That 6-month leader, the only reason we put that in there is literally for permitting. In some areas that we've worked, St. John's, Indiana, you can get permits over the counter. In places like Portland, Oregon, it takes us sometimes 6 months to get permits. In places like California or Seattle, it might take you 12 months to get building permits, and that's when the construction schedule starts. The down payment required, typically with a lender from Buildup community, you're looking at 90%. 90% is what the lender will cover. You have to bring the 10%. If you're doing a personal house and you're going to be putting up your W-2, your finances, you're going to be putting up your tax returns, you only need 5% down, and it's a 31-year mortgage. At the end of the day, we call this the adult babysitter because you're not doing the work, you're checking and scheduling out all of the different subcontractors.
So on the cash side, let's say you're putting 30K in, you're turning it into $50,000 or $60,000 of profit. If you're building a duplex, you're putting 90,000. I actually built a duplex, put 92K down. I made 238K, so you can see 90,000 to 238. This is your cash out of your bank, the down payment, not including what the lender is covering. And so the cash on cash is great. Timeline varies. Then you jump to stage 3. So you understand deal finding. You understand now you can find deals. You're going to hire the builder. You're going to assemble the whole team. You're using the leverage ecosystem. And now you're building out projects. Now you think, okay, well, how can I create my own subdivision, my own lots, and I can leverage 1, 2, and 3 and literally triple dip into all buckets. That's where the developer comes into play. What does this look like? Somebody coming in with a raw piece of land, or you're coming into an area where there's a larger parcel of land within a developed city or county, and you come in and you split those lots up into multiple lots. So you might buy a lot for $200,000, you add in the infrastructure, and now you have yourself 6 lots. Those 6 lots could be worth significantly more than the original purchase price. Then you come in and you actually go build product. Now you have a profit margin on the build side. So you get profit on the land and you get profit on the build. The timeline is 18 to 36 months. Why? Because it takes some time to go through the process of splitting the lots, but that process is 100% worth it because you can see the profit and the upside is significantly more. The cash in, 250,000 plus or minus. Why? Depending on how you structure the deal. I have some deals right now where I signed a contract for 2-3 years as I'm developing the property. I don't actually own or purchase, but I lock the contract in because I signed a memorandum of contract on title. It locks it in. No, they cannot sell the property without me because we have an agreement. So there's so many ways that you can get creative in this development space. That's why it's level 3 as you understand 1, 2, and then you jump to level 3. That's where the big money is made. And I call this role a land artist because you get to create what you want to create. It's not like you're working with the lot. You have to build a certain product. You get to make that community as long as you're focused on what product sells well and what's happening in the area and it's a good location, it's going to be a profitable deal. Any thoughts on that last one?
No? Yeah.
All right, guys. I love keeping this chat active. If you guys can, if you're a 0, put it in the chat that maybe you're in the game, you're a wholesaler, agent, loan officer, business owner, but you're not actively finding deals. Put a 1 in the chat if you're a deal finder. Put a 2 in the chat if you're a fix and flipper, you're a builder, a contractor, or you hire somebody to do those projects for you and you're getting loans and going through it. 3 if you're creating full-on communities. If you're a 1, 2, and 3, you can put all 3 or just a 3. I'd love to see who we have on this call and who is in the chat. Let's see here, lots of 0s. We've got some 1s as well. We've got a little bit of 2s, there you go. And then we've got a couple 3s. Usually I see that there's more of the 0s, some 1s, some 2s, and then a little bit of 3s. I love that. We've got a little bit of everybody here. This is awesome. The 7-step framework is for everybody. I'm telling you, you could be a builder, but you have no system. Oh, what did your project cost? I don't know. Okay, how do you know you made money? Well, I put in X amount and I got X amount out. Okay, well, what was your cost breakdown on lending? How about construction? How about, I don't know. So some people in the game also need the same framework. It's really important just to have that framework that allows you to scale. The only reason we were able to scale to over 200 doors in the last 6 years is through that system.
So here's how we would transition into development if that's what you wanted to do. That's the question we get the most often. Phase 1, you want to build your team. That's going to be, that looks like finding a lender, a builder that can build your project at a cost plus basis, and an agent that can find you deals off market usually, and you can offer them a list back. In other words, they're more motivated to find you deals. Usually this is like really just networking. In real estate, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So if you network, coffee meetings, real estate meetups, you'll be able to start building your team. Depending on what you're willing to invest time-wise into this might take you 5 to 10 hours a week. This could be the first few months of your actual team building process.
Awesome.
Phase 2?
Phase 2 is going to be market research. So now you're going to start ghost underwriting deals. What does that mean? You're going to kind of understand the process. You're going to start getting deal flow. You're going to say, well, even if maybe it doesn't fit what you want to do, like build a duplex or build a house, you still want to underwrite the deal. You want to make sure it pencils. You want to lock it in and say, okay, this does make sense. I'm underwriting 10 to 20 deals, because now when the real deal comes up that makes sense for you, you already know that's the right deal. Then once that deal comes, you're making those offers, you jump to stage number 3 or phase number 3.
And phase number 3 is when you execute. This is when you actually hire the people that you've met, the network that you've built, and you oversee them. You start to get bids, you start to sign the contracts, review the scope of work, and actually build out the deal. Depending on your permitting timeline, this could be anywhere from 3 months all the way up to 12. The fastest we've ever built a duplex was 3.5 months.
And a fourplex in 3 months and 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. We actually even shared those schedules on how we did that. And then step 4 is scale if you wanted to. At that point, you can have 3 to 5 concurrent projects at the same exact time. You can bring on investors. Typically, that looks like a 50-50 profit split at the end. You can be either in one LLC together, or you could do multiple joint ventures.
The beautiful thing about scale is, I always say you can have 4 to 5 projects at once. That doesn't mean you're building 4 to 5 units. If you do a 4 to 6 plex per project, average 5 projects, 5 units, you're doing 25 doors a year. So that's the game that we love to play. We love to have 5 to 10 projects. One project could be a 30 unit project. One could be a 4plex. And that allows us to scale without having to have 30 projects, and it's going to become overwhelming. And so that's where you can continue to build, scale, and increase profit, and create those partnerships where maybe you have a bigger down payment, you have a split when it comes to that, but you're not squeezing your time. You're actually leveraging it, making more money without trading time for money. All right, guys, so we have our Buildup community. Our community is, I see a lot of people saying, I'm from here, I'm from there. I know we asked, where are you from? This is a great place to network, connect. We've got agents, developers, wholesalers, loan officers, investors, business owners, all in there collaborating. 26,000 people. It's been amazing to see this community grow. Sometimes we'll come and we'll speak for free at different events. We'll fly into other areas, like we flew into North Carolina. We were in Oregon and Washington and Florida, and we just do a regular meetup, hangout. We'll actually tour a project we have going. That one of them right there is a house in North Carolina, and we'll just walk through the house, share the numbers, share what we're doing. And so Buildup community is an amazing place to connect with people. That's part of our network, Buildup. I'll share where that name came from and how it originated. Before we do that, and before we jump into the 7-step framework, which is now the next one, I want to share with you guys how important this framework is, and people taking the framework and actually running with it and taking action. So I've got 3 different people here, 3 different clients from the Buildup community. They're doing 19 doors combined. Avery, he's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's got a duplex. Kato, she's a real estate agent, and she did not have any build experience, and now she is doing over 11 doors with between 3 projects, and she was actually featured in the Business Journal in Portland. I've got Luke here from Dallas, Texas. He is doing deals without any of his own money, partnering with the Buildup community. So that's been really exciting, and we'll break down each real quick.
So Avery, 0 construction experience. He works in the commercial elevator industry. He was 1 month in, secured his lot, lined up his contractor. Right now, he's working with a permit expediter in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to push his project along to the approval. His projected profit on his first duplex is $250,000.
The really cool thing is he was supposed to put 230 grand down, and because of the Buildup community, he was able to use one of our partner lenders and bring down 130K instead of that other number. So instead of bringing a partner on and splitting profit, he actually gets to keep all the profit for himself. Then we've got Kato and Amika. I mentioned them earlier. Licensed agents, no development experience. They also raised the capital. They didn't have the capital to do all the projects. So they raised capital. They also leveraged credit cards. And now they're doing a 1 4plex without any of their money. That one specifically is doing $380,000 of profit. And then they have 2 more projects that are in the pipeline in permitting. And then lastly, because they're agents, they also get a double dip. So when they list the properties for sale, they're gonna get paid an extra $45,000 on commission on top of their half of the profit.
Luke, project management background. Right now, he raised capital inside of the Buildup community, and absolutely incredible. He's following more of my business model, no cash in, but he's doing all of the work, putting together the permits, managing the schedule, doing all of it. He's less than 12 months in. He has 6 projects, only 23 years old, and he has over $400,000 of profit estimated from his side.
And guys, what I want to say with this, most important, is if Ruben did it being in debt, I did it being scared for 4 years to take the risk, and now our Buildup clients are doing it as well. You guys can absolutely do it. I wanted to set this up as we're going to now break down the meat and the bones. I want you guys to understand the perspective of this is absolutely possible. With these 3, they have 19 doors. The beautiful thing is 267 additional doors by our students alone. So imagine 286? 286 doors out of 511. Our mission is to get 511 homes built with our Buildup community. Again, we'll jump into that in a little bit. And let's jump into the meat and the bones.
So before we get into any of the 7 steps, this is the most important rule that you need to understand. Start from your profit. What do I mean by that? You need to aim for a 25% ROI. Depending on your market, sometimes it can be 20%, but at the end of the day, you need to start and make sure that the profit makes sense before you go any deeper. What does this look like? Well, you have your final sales price. You know that your construction, your construction cost. We're going to give you that. It's an average of $150 per square foot. And your land price is attached to the sales price, typically 20 to 25% also. Both the same number, but they're two different, they serve 2 different purposes. 25% ROI and 25% of the final sales price is the maximum you can pay for the land. Doesn't mean you should pay that for the land, but it's the maximum that you can pay. If those numbers roughly check out, like a quick napkin math, then you can proceed forward.
Awesome. So with this rule, so 20% to 25, you see 20 and 25. My thought process and the way that I operate on deals is the 20%, it's the rule of 20. That's what we live by. Rule of 20, personal house game. I'll usually push to a margin of 20. If it's the investment game, I stick to minimum 25%. This allows a cushion. This allows a safety net. A lot of people think about the return on their down payment. That's a massive mistake. If you think, oh, well, I'm gonna put 40,000 and I make 20 profit, 20,000 profit. I'm literally taking 40, turning it to 60. That's the wrong math. The math you should live and breathe is the actual return on the project. That's like the lifeblood. That's the gasoline to the engine. That is the most important thing. Agreed?
Agreed.
If you look at the ROI, the cash on cash, the down payment growth is just a bonus. Why? Because if you have a 10% margin, the market corrects 10%, the market corrects 15%. If you had a 10% margin, market corrects 15%, where's your cash on cash? It's gone, you're negative 5%. This is the rule that we've breathed, and even with interest rates jumping to 8%, we were still able to sell projects, make a profit. On some, we had to just sell them, move on, continue to the next deal. If we were thinking cash on cash, we would have lost a lot of money on a lot of projects, and it gives you room for error. If, for example, you have to extend the loan and you weren't expecting it, there's room there. Versus 10%, it's marginal. So again, on this one here, 2,200 square foot house, 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. That's roughly the construction budget for that, and the builder fee would be $378,000. For those on builder fee, the way that the builder fee works across the entire nation, our students are building 286 doors, roughly $150 per square foot in Washington and Oregon. California is $175 per square foot. This is hard and soft costs, so permit fees, engineering, architecture, and the actual build cost. Texas is about $100 a square foot, up to $125. Georgia, $130, $140. Chicago area, $140, $150. St. John, Indiana, my student just built really nice houses for $160. Florida, $120 to $180, depending on the type of home and how close you are towards the water and the beach. And then if you're adding a pool, things like that. but across the nation, it's $100 to $150-ish a square foot. In the really expensive areas, might be $160, $175. This is builder grade construction. I'm not talking custom. This is not floating staircases, but a nice spec home that's builder grade. So you're not doing anything crazy on the finishes. Of course, that number will go higher if you do something nicer, but the values should follow. So if in an area where there's nicer homes, you could build something nicer as long as you have the 25% margin. The ROI, return on investment, is the one main factor that I will never break. It's a rule that I'll never break. I might pay a little bit more for land if the ROI is 25%. I might build a little bit of a nicer product if the ROI is 25%. Are you guys following me here? Is this something valuable? Put a 7 in the chat. If you're seeing it, it makes sense. You got it. So far, so good. Investor down payment on this one would be $76,000 down at 147% return. That's a good return. A primary home down payment or primary down payment would be $39,000 down. So we're going to break down the cash on cash. I wanted to set this in play. ROI is most important. Most people freak out about the cash on cash and they're like, I want to do development because the cash on cash is so good. It's only so good if this number is here. Okay, go ahead, Ruben.
Okay, so what is cash on cash and how does it relate to ROI? Well, ROI is based on the total cost of the project. So not many of us have the ability to, for example, on that previous slide, $565,000 cash to put into a deal and our money grows at a rate of 20-25%. It's too much money to dish out to be able to get the project done. So what do? We get a loan. So our requirement is $76,000 down. That's 10% plus 3.5% for closing costs. Our goal is, hey, we have to put $76,000 down. The lender brings the rest of the money and our profit stays the same, $143,000. So where does this 193% number come from? 147 divided by 76,000 gets us a return of 193%. Our money that actually left our bank account is what is the actual return that we're receiving. So although ROI is more important than cash on cash for the safety of the deal to make sure that it actually makes money and there's margin, cash on cash is what we actually experience. We put out 76,000 and we receive back 147 plus 76. That's the rate of return on our actual money.
So total project cost, $565, is land and build. The lender says 10% of that is what you have to bring to the table, which is $56,550 technically. Then there's some closing costs, lender fees, title fees, which is going to equate to that 76 rather than 56. So you're bringing in 76,000. The net profit of 147, keep in mind, that's after the agent fees and after the title fees. So the profit is sale price minus the build costs and land. You might be like, well, the number is bigger than 147. Well, you've got to pay the real estate agents their 5%. Plus you got to pay all the title fees and any holding costs. You'll net 147. This is based on our experience of building our 200 doors. That's the number that you would net. And so you guys can get an understanding of what those numbers look like and then your return. From the real estate perspective, comparison S&P 500, let's say you're at usually, let's average 10%. Rental properties are 8 to 15% return. And then developments are 25, 26% on the equity, so the ROI side. But what I love about development is you get a leverage. So like 26%, yes, it's good. Development, it's maybe a little bit different than parking your money into rentals, which you just collect a check. Development's more active. Not only is it more active and 26% return on the total project, but now you have the leverage of a down payment. So now it's even more attractive. And so that's why I love this game. As long as you can keep the rule 25 for investments, your cash on cash is going to look phenomenal. You can put more money down. You don't always have to do it 10%. A lot of times I'll just buy the land for cash and then get a loan for the construction just because I like to do that, less leverage. So now we're going to jump into the personal house game. Both Ruben and I love this strategy. The reason for it is, how do I say it? It's like the best house hack in the history of house hacks. Why? Because you get to live in a house. You don't have to pay rent to somebody else. You put the same 5% down that you would go buy a house on the market, but you do it here. And instead of buying a house on the market and let's say being negative equity, what does that mean? You buy a house for $500,000. Well, if you go resell it for $500,000, by the time you pay agent fees, by the time you paid your loan fees, by the time you paid your closing costs, you're losing 30 grand. So really buying a house for 500,000 on the market, you get back 470 if you sell it tomorrow, right? Here, you go build a house, it's gonna cost you 400,000, not 5. With all the fees and everything, 425,000. You're sleeping on 75,000 of equity day one if you did it okay. If you do it correctly, you're on 100 to 150,000 of equity. That's the first bucket. So you're putting down the same down payment as going and buying yourself a house. The second bucket is you make 250,000 of profit and it's tax exempt. Guys, tax free, tax exempt. It doesn't have to go into a special account and then you have to go use it to buy real estate. No, you get the wire in your account because it's your personal house. You lived in it for 2 years. It was your primary residence. Check mark, you're good. Keep the 250,000 up to that number. If you're married and you make 500,000, as long as you file your taxes together, great, you get to keep that. If you guys want to fact check, go to topic 701 of the IRS or topic section 121 and read that for yourself on the actual IRS website. You're going to see that it works. You might say, well, I could do this with any real estate. False. You can't go buy a house and it's going to appreciate 200 grand in 2 years. Show me where you can do that. It's very rare. But you can go build a house and force the 200,000 or 100,000 because you've built it for less than what it's worth. So now you've captured that and then you can go sell it and take that profit after 2 years. And then the cash on cash is 2 to 3 times a person or an investment loan. Because you're putting less money, it's the same profit. So the same number of 147 we've been talking about, we'll show you guys again, but your down payment's just less. You don't have to bring 76 to the table. Go ahead, Ruben. So the cash on cash, same profit, same project, same cost, just a different down payment.
So because the down payment is less, you're putting out less money, less down payment, the cash on cash return is much higher. So that's why Arthur and I are such a big fan of the personal house game. And we love to try to do at least one personal house every 2 years. Because the requirement is that you have to live there 2 years out of the last 5. Our goal is to build at least one personal house every 2 years if we can, and you're able to get absolutely incredible returns. Sure, this is based on your tax returns. You have to bring your W-2 pay stubs, but it is absolutely worth it. It is like a standard mortgage. It's a 31-year mortgage, 30 years for the actual mortgage, 1 year to build the house, interest only.
In other words, if you're pre-approved to buy a house, don't go build one. Go ahead.
If you're pre-approved to buy a house, don't buy one, go and build one. Yes. Yeah.
All right, you're gonna go ahead, cover the cash on cash. I covered the
I did, the cash on cash, I covered it.
And then the 2 years, all that, we got it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so this game, the reason 5% down, as Ruben said, W-2 income, you're essentially saying, I can actually afford the payments. For the investment side, they don't care about your personal income. They don't actually check your income. They don't check if you can pay the payments or not. They specifically look if it's a profitable deal and what numbers you're projecting are actually valid and true. That's why I like the investment game too. I could have literally $0 of income every month and I can just have 500,000 in the bank and I can go build investment projects. They don't look at your income. All right. We are finally here. Sorry guys, we had so much framework I wanted to cover. There's formulas I wanted to cover. There's the entire process I wanted to make sure you guys understood of how everything works in the ecosystem. Why? Because now when we covered the 7 steps, it's gonna resonate more, it's gonna stick, and it's gonna make sense when we go through the process. So I'm gonna keep you guys really active in the chat. I know I've said it many times, but now we are finally here. Comment 7 if you're excited for the entire 7-step process. Remember, as you take notes, just take the main things that highlight or resonate for you. Take those notes, the gold nuggets, and let's jump into it.
Awesome. Step number 1 is finding the lot. Can't build if you don't have the land. Here are your options for finding the lot. Number 1, just on the market, the MLS, anything that's listed on the open market, it's very competitive. We like to compare it to used car shopping. Arthur has a great story he can tell about when he wanted to buy a Ford F-150.
Do I say it now or later?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I'm from the auto industry. That was my original, what I was doing. And so I always compare the auto when I come to real estate. On the auto side, what happens when you want to buy a Ford F-150? I want to buy a Ford F-150. I'm now building real estate. I don't want to go and try to find deals and go fix it myself. So I'm just going to go to Facebook Marketplace. What happens? A truck is worth $20,000. So you see 20, 20, 20, 20. you're going to go in and offer 19, 18, sure, they might say no. But then one pops up, the same model, the same miles, everything that you wanted for 15. What do you do right away? Hey, is this available? I can come meet you right now. I'm ready to buy it. You finally get their number or you call them. Let's say it's on Craigslist or wherever. I don't even know if Craigslist is a thing, Facebook Marketplace. You give them a call. What do they say? Yeah, sure, come by, pick it up. No. They say, hey, you're the 10th person that called me. I already have 7 in line, 3 are on the way. They have money on the table. They even said they'd pay me a little bit more. They give me 16 or 17. Because the market's 20, they posted it at 15. That's exactly how the MLS is. If a good deal is posted, it's going to be multiple offers. Everybody's going to be fighting for it. It's going to be a brawl until finally somebody comes to a price that makes sense. That's why we love the off-market game, and that's why we do over 75% of our deals off-market. Off-market is directly to the seller. It's me and the property owner. We're both talking. We can negotiate. On the MLS, quick close, 10 days, 20 days, all cash. Off-market, guys, most of what we do is off-market. Usually I'm signing a contract for about 4 months. Not 2 weeks, not 3 weeks, 4 months. Why? It gives me time to do my feasibility, verify it's buildable, get my plans designed and approved. Then I close with my construction loan. That is the reason I love the off-market game. So go ahead, keep going.
So off-market is where we primarily buy almost all of our deals, literally almost all of our deals. And that's where the most of our actual high profit deals come from, because we're able to negotiate terms that are favorable to us. We can actually get better lending if we have building permits approved. You can't really do that if you're closing in 10 days, all cash, for example. We have bought deals off the MLS cash if it was really that good, but for the most part, off market is where most developers, most builders actually buy their land. Guys, remember, the money is in the buy. I know you've heard it before and you hear these different sayings in real estate, but this is really true because we learned the hard way. Sometimes you can pay over asking, you can build the deal and you didn't even realize that you already lost money on the very first day, but you're only selling 6 months in because you overpaid for the land. So it's very important that you need to get a good deal on the land, and we'll show exactly how we make sure that it is a good deal in step number 2.
Step number 2 is going to be running the numbers. So the basic formula that we work with, which you've already saw previously on cash and total cost, ROI, is you've got the sale price, you take away the construction and the land, that equals your gross profit. Obviously you have agent fees and title fees. So reverse engineering, you start from what is the home worth? What's my construction cost? That determines what you should pay for the land based on a 20 to 25% return on investment. If you're not hitting that number, what number adjusts? The land. I'll ask you guys a question. If a duplex sells, or a single family, let's call it duplex. If a duplex sells for $900,000 in a market, $900K, and it's gonna cost you $600,000 to build. Okay, 900, 600, and land is worth 100K in that market, let's say, or it's 500 would be a real number. So 900K it's worth, 500,000 to build, and 200,000 for the land. You have 200K of profit. Can you get a duplex to sell instead of 900 for 1.2 million?
No.
No. So you can't get a 30, 40% increase on the sale price. That's like I'm trying to win the lottery. Can you get the build cost? I'll ask the builder. Can you get the build cost from 500,000 to 250?
No.
Maybe you'll shave off 10, 20, 30K, but you're not going to shave off 250. Can you get the land cost? Let's say that they want 300K. Can you get the land cost to 200K, to 150, 175, 100? Can you shave land costs by a big margin?
No.
Yes, you can. Land, you're not paying attention.
Sorry.
Yes. Why? Land is the only place that you can actually get the property for 50 cents on the dollar. Land. You could have 2 duplexes right next to each other. Both of them sell for 900. Both of them roughly cost 500. One guy paid 300K for it, and one guy paid 150. Who made the money? The guy that paid less for the land. It's literally a formula. I want you guys to understand this. I obsess over making sure I get the best deal on the land because it lets the entire project coast. I could build it for a little bit more, It could sell for a little bit less. I'm still gonna hit my 20 to 25% margin because I understood the money is in the land, nothing else. All right.
So for example, we can come into any market. And since we know that there is really only three things here, three variables here, if we know the actual, the final sales price, which that's basically public information on Zillow, on Redfin. If we roughly know the construction cost and we know what land is selling for, does the deal calculate out? Process of elimination. Is there a 20% margin? Yes or no? If there isn't, one of these numbers has to adjust. Sales price can't. Like Arthur said, construction price can't. Land price can. And you can literally just reverse engineer, process of elimination, figure out exactly where the numbers need to be at. And that's how you can underwrite any deal. So in the comments, I want you to write, what four things do you need? Sales price, really important. Construction cost, land price, and your minimum ROI. If you have those four, that's what matters to be able to underwrite a deal. I saw people asking, how do I underwrite a deal? This is how you underwrite a deal.
And guys, if you have questions in the chat, we will have the Q&A in the end. We're gonna continue this, but in the end, we'll answer all your questions. All right, step number 3 is plans and design. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to do something new or cool. Would you rather say, hey, I'm gonna take a gamble and build a 4-story building where all of the houses are duplexes or all the product is duplexes and hope I make money? Or would you rather say, hey, there's 4 duplexes that all sold for this number. I know my construction is this number. I'm pretty much confident I will get 20 to 25%, 150K profit on this duplex if I do this strategy. If it's me, I'm doing that. Even to date, after building over 200 doors, I still build what's happening in the area. Where do I start to tweak a little bit and change things up is plans and design. I try to build a little bit of a cooler product, a little bit more unique. It's still a duplex, it's still a 3-bed, it's still a 2.5 bath, but I might have a beautiful Portola bathroom. I may have a different elevation that has different tones and siding and patterns and colors. I might add some stone. So I do those little things that don't kill the budget, but I'm not gonna do a triangle shaped house because I wanna try something new. I'm gonna do what is selling. Don't reinvent it, prove what already sells. 2, you don't need an architect. Usually an architect is really expensive and they kind of go over, meaning they over design the plan. It's gonna cost more than it should. Instead, hire a drafter. A drafter is somebody that follows the building code, drafts up your plans, and then the engineer, the structural engineer, actually stamps to make sure that the house won't fall over. Why is a drafter good? Most spec builders, most developers actually use drafters for anything from 1 to 4 units. So a house up to a 4-plex, you don't have to have a licensed architect. It's not actually required in most cities, most states. So we use drafters. I'm paying 75 cents per square foot up to $1.25. Architect is $2 to $20 a square foot. I had a Buildup client come in. They're like, I'm designing a 6-plex. They're charging me 50 grand for this because they're charging me like 3% of the construction or 4%. I said, that's why I don't like architects. You can go renegotiate and agree to a one set price of $1 per square foot or $2 per square foot, and then you can pay them hourly for construction management. The reason they do that is they say, well, we have to manage the whole project with you. Well, if you need to manage the whole project, then you did a bad job on the plans. And so anyways, they renegotiated, they got to a set price plus hourly for construction management. I said, you don't need to use them. The builder understands how the plans work. They understand how to build a good product. So you're just gonna pay them their $150 or $2 per square foot, and then your builder will help you execute on the build. So drafter versus architect, this is a way for you to just save an extra $2,000 to $4,000 right off the bat. And drafters are usually working with spec builders, so they're gonna build a much more efficient product, which is gonna end up actually costing you less.
Yep. In most states, you do not need a licensed architect with a stamp to draw your plans. You might need a structural engineer with a stamp. We usually pay anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for residential structural engineering. They'll size the beams, they'll put shear walls in place, things like that. But you do not need a licensed architect with a stamp. It is not required.
Okay, so analyze what product moves the fastest and why. When it comes to plans and design, I look at what's selling, what area, what makes a product sell a little bit faster, and then I add my touch to it or my design to it. And again, in this stage, you're just a coordinator. You're bringing the right people in, you're choosing the right product, and then you let them execute and create that. And the drafter will also, which is going to be step number 4, he's going to come in and do the permitting for you, get it all approved for you. It's not going to take you as fast as you want if you don't do the first stage of adult babysitting. When it comes to building, a lot of it is truly babysitting adults. It sounds crazy, but it's true. If there's contractors in the chat, I'm sure they can relate that you're always checking in. Hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do that? Are you going to hit your date? Are you going to do this? When it comes to this and getting plans approved, the way we usually beat the average timeline within our city or county. So if somebody says, hey, I get permits in 4 months, I know I can get permits in 3 months in that city or county. Why? 1, I push the drafter, he gets it ready. I push him to get it submitted. When he submits it to the online portal or to email, depending if they're old school or new school, I then reach out to the city or county. Hey, my drafter said they submitted the plans for address 123 Main Street. Did you get those plans? This is already the first step of babysitting. What happens? The city's going to respond 2 ways. Yes, I got them, or what are you talking about? If they say, what are you talking about? You just saved yourself some time, because you could just be sitting and waiting 3 months hoping the plans are approved when the drafter totally forgot to submit. They say, no, I forward that email, or I let them know, hey, they have not received it. Please submit it. Let me know when you do it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was all uploaded. I forgot to hit send. Great. Once they do that, I reach out to the city again or county. Then when they respond with, yes, we received it, I'm not done. I say, hey, thank you so much for responding. Can you give me your target review date? What am I doing? I'm setting milestones and making sure everybody does their job as the babysitter and kind of that CEO, overseeing and getting everyone to be accountable. That's the process of getting permits. I had somebody recently in Clark County say they got permits in 5 months. We got those same permits in 6 weeks. So unfortunately, they wasted 3.5 months. That's interest, that's closing costs. If you're in contract to get the permits approved, then close, you're gonna break your contract deadline. There's so many things that can go wrong if you're just a passenger and you're not proactive when it comes to this.
Okay, step number 5 is financing. This is where you're gonna actually contact the lender and put together the loan for your project. Usually, we like to contact the lender when we're almost at permit approval. So sometimes, depending on your area, if you're submitting permits and you know that permits take roughly 6 weeks based on previous experience working with these different drafters, asking them, then we'll start the loan process. Ultimately, the lender is your silent partner in this deal. They bring 80 to 90% of the actual capital required to build out and complete the project. So it's very important to select the right type of lender. The first thing that we notice often that most new beginners make, most new beginners make this mistake. They get a lender that charges them interest on the full amount of the construction day one. That is not what you want. You need a construction loan that is treated more like a line of credit. So as you draw $50,000, you pay interest on $50,000, not the total cost of $550 like we talked about earlier. This lowers your average interest rate to 5 to 7% over the entire course of the total project. So if you could imagine, as you draw the construction budget, the total amount goes higher and higher and higher and higher, and you get charged interest on that total amount for that month. This lowers the interest rate, and this saves you a lot of money across the entire deal. Now, down payments. For the personal house game that we talked about, typically this is based on your W-2, your tax returns. If you're a business owner, it's 2 years tax returns, or sometimes you can even get a bank statement loan. Those are more rare for construction, but they're out there. Those are anywhere from 5% down up to 10% down. Usually you're gonna have to hire a builder at a 10% cost plus fee to meet the experience requirement if you don't have the experience. For the investment side, 10 to 15% down is very standard. It's called 90% loan to cost. You don't usually need any kind of credit as long as it's not absolutely terrible. You don't need your income to be verified. You don't usually need to look at your tax returns. It's very specific to the actual deal. They'll get an appraisal of the current as-is value of the land. They'll get an appraisal based on the finished product of the actual build. What will it cost when it's finished and sold? If you meet their ratios, they will fund you, because ultimately, if the project fails, they can simply take the project and they don't lose their capital because you brought the 10 to 15% down. What you'll need for both lenders is you're going to need to bring some kind of comparables. This is what I think my house will be worth. This is the actual product that I'm building. You'll need a budget. So that per square foot price in underwriting, you need to break it down. How much will foundation cost? How much will framing cost? How much will framing lumber cost? Windows, roofing. And once you have that budget put together, your pro forma, that was all of your numbers in underwriting. The sales price, the construction cost, the actual sales price, the ROI, what you're going to pay the realtor, they're looking for that data to underwrite your deal.
And the good news is on the construction budget, your builder's the one that's going to build that out, so you don't actually have to know all of that when you're building out your project.
So the key and most important line here, leverage is only healthy. Leverage is only your best friend when the margins are healthy. We have to go back to the very beginning. If your project has a 20 to 25% ROI, then leverage makes sense. Because sometimes we see people that send us deals and they have a 100%, 50% cash on cash return, but the ROI is 5%. That deal is literally going to fail from the very beginning.
Amazing. All right, step number 6 is construction. Guys, before I jump into this, I love keeping this chat active. The Q&A is going to be very active, I already know. Put a 7 in the chat if you're loving the 7-step process so far. You learned something new, or if you already knew this, you got a different perspective on what you're learning. I love it. I'm seeing tons of 7s in the chat. That's beautiful. So, step 6 is construction. As crazy as this might sound, to me, as a developer, this is actually the easiest part of the process. Step 1 and 2 are the most important, and then from there on out, it's execution. Why construction is the easiest part of the process is because construction is so predictable. Why do I not like fix and flips? You get a property, structural issues. You open up walls, there's issues that you couldn't uncover without actually opening up the drywall.
Mold, termites,
just so many issues.
Poor framing.
With construction, you do your due diligence. You've got through the feasibility checklist. Everything checked off, looks good. Now that you're in the permit process, you're approved. You get the lending locked in. You begin building. You already have everything pre-bid out. You're not gonna change your cost. It's already set in stone. You know you're building a brand new product. It's like building a new car. They already can predict exactly what it's gonna cost them with the 3% error rate or 2%. So, when it comes to construction, what's my actual role? Do I have to be on site? Do I have to do everything? Do I have to adult babysit? I hire the builder at a cost plus contract. The total budget that was bid out, $400,000. We agreed to 10%, $40,000. Now the builder comes in as the active person, an active business owner, and they're gonna perform on their job to make sure it gets done. You set the contracts in place. You have all the bids in your hand. You sign the builder signs subcontractor agreements and contracts with every person. And now this ship is moving forward and a product is going from land to actually being created. As a developer, what am I doing? I'm approving the finishes. I don't have to actually be a designer. I can say, hey builder, what's the other 4 projects you built? I like that one. Can you do the same colors, finishes as that one? Can you just change these 3 things? So you don't have to be a designer. You can do what they do. I like to design my projects. Pinterest is my best friend. I work on Pinterest, I put a whole board together, I choose what I want, and then I create a beautiful product. You don't need to do that. I monitor the budget. I watch through, make sure everything is tracking per budget in my contract. If it's above the budget, there's ramifications, things like that. And then I can go to the site to walk it if I want. I don't need to. There's inspections from the city, there's inspections from the bank, and there's the builder as well getting the job done. Nothing is getting paid ahead. So the product is being built, the home is being built per the building code. And if it's not per the building code, they will not let you get to the next stage. You're not gonna build a whole house and then go, oh, you failed, oops. Every stage, foundation, if it's not done right, you're not passing inspection to pour. Everything will be, there are layers and checks and balances to make sure you actually do it correctly as the builder. And then I have my layers and balances for my lender to make sure they're actually doing their job plus my contracts in place. That's why I love the construction side of things. You can work 3 hours a week building projects. We have right now over 100 doors in the pipeline. And for me, it's a part-time job. I'm not working full-time. I get to do this. I get to teach you guys. I get to show you guys the game rather than being in the weeds and figuring out what's going on. Any thoughts on that?
No, and he's not even the builder, but I would agree with Arthur.
Well, okay, the builder hires a project manager, so the builder's also... No, I'm just messing.
At the end of the day, for the GC side, we don't recommend that you run a full construction business and learn the entire games in and out of the actual construction process, because ultimately the developer makes most of the profit. They have to wait the longest out of everybody. Subs get paid immediately. The GC gets paid monthly, but the developer makes a bulk of the profit for the exact reason of finding the deal and underwriting it. Sure, do you need to supervise the builder? Yes. Do you need to have quality control? Yes, but that's exactly what the 3 hours a week is for. You're not the one actually hiring the subs. You're not the one actually managing the subs. That's what the builder is for. That's what you're paying the 10% fee for.
In my opinion, now is the best time ever to get in this space. Interest rates picked up. Construction prices were high. They've dropped. Lumber has dropped to pretty close to COVID levels. The construction side, we used to build for 175, is dropping to 150, 160. Things are, even with the tariffs and all these other things, the prices are still lower than they were, and the sale prices are still there. Meaning the drop in construction versus the I would say the smoothing out of sale prices is now more profitable than it was. And guess what? In my personal opinion, I think interest rates will only get lower. So that means that if you build today, you live in it for a few years, or even if you just sell, but if you live in it for a few years and rates start to drop, you now created even more equity, because what happens when interest rates go down? Prices go up. So it's a beautiful space to be in. One of our duplexes, we built it for $146 per square foot. That same duplex I built for $174 a square foot a couple years back. So I can see where prices are going, where markets are at, and it's becoming, in my opinion, it's healthier when there's not a straight shoot up, straight shoot down. It's kind of, it went crazy COVID, kind of settled, and now we're here. And if you don't build the right product for the right area, you're not going to make a profit. I like this kind of market because now the good developers are making the money, not everybody. All right, step number 7, you've got 3 different paths or an option where it's hybrid. Path number 1, you sell the house for an immediate profit. Please don't just use any agent. Utilize a new construction agent. Why? They understand the game. They understand how to sell the house. They have a clientele and a buyer pool. Just having your uncle or aunt or friend or cousin list a property for sale because they passed a test may actually hurt you, not get you more money. I listed with a specialized agent. I actually ended up getting $40,000 above the asking price that I was expecting, because they understood it. They said, stage the home, we're gonna list it at this price. We have a couple of different strategies. And then we got multiple offers and it became a bidding war, and I ended up getting that extra money on top because I hired experience. Keep that in mind, that's really important. But you could just sell it for a profit, build it, sell it, you're out. You can use the 90% loan to cost, 10% down. Option 2, you can hold it for rent. Build it, hold it for rent, create a cash flow. And if you're in the real estate space, you have the beautiful advantage of cost segregation, which allows you to reduce that tax bill and force that depreciation. If not, you still get cash flow and you still get standard depreciation. Option number 3, which would be plan C, you take advantage of the personal house game. Put 5% down, live in it, enjoy it for at least 2 years. If you don't live in there for 2 years and you sell it in a year, you just don't get the advantage of tax-free profit. But you can still sell it. There is no limitation. So if you want to pay the capital gains, live in it for 6 months, sell it, go for it. But you live in it for 2 years, take advantage of the tax-free profit, and now you got yourself a new nest egg of money. That's actually what I did. And then I went and invested into more projects and built my other personal house. So I got to do both, plus leverage investors and build projects with them. And then this is where I'm at now. You get to have this beautiful hybrid model where you build some to keep, you build some to sell, you reduce your capital. Like you could do 10 units, keep 3, sell 7, pull out most of your capital, refinance it like the Burr method. But the Burr method, usually you have 10, 15% equity. You have 30% of equity, no cash in the deal, and it's cash flowing, and you get the tax advantage. This is a developer's dream. I love this strategy here. But the beautiful thing is, if plan A doesn't work, you have plan B, you have plan C, you have the plan hybrid. And if you want to be active, you have the Airbnb, short-term rental, nurses, month-to-month rent. You have so many beautiful strategies. The big key here is if you have that 20 to 25% margin, you've got yourself some room.
Okay, so this is the complete system that you need to be able to get into the development game. Everything from finding a lot to underwriting the deal to make sure that it actually makes sense. Once those two make sense, you have your comparables, you know what you're going to build, you even know the finishes that you're going to build because you looked at comparables and you're trying to mimic or replicate what's already been built, aka comparables. Then you now know what to design, you know what plans to draw up. Once you have the plans drawn up, you can move forward to the approval process to actually get the stamp so that you can actually break ground on the project. Financing, typically for an investment loan, 10 to 15% down. For the personal house strategy, usually 5% down, 2% closing costs. Total 7% down payment. Construction cost is mostly managing the builder, and the builder is managing either a project manager and the subcontractors or directly with the subcontractors. Lastly, you have those 3 strategies to exit the property with the hybrid option.
All right, before we jump into the live Q&A, I want to share about the Buildup Challenge. I mentioned 511 homes. In 2026, we decided to launch the Buildup Challenge. What is it? We're consulting the Buildup group and the Buildup community and pushing them to build 511 homes alongside us. Where does 511 come from? It's actually from the Bible verse, 1 Thessalonians 5:11, which calls us to build one another up. So we believe in one, building each other up in real estate, building each other up in relationships. This game is relationship driven. It's both business and family, and then just building a legacy for our families to come. I'm not a huge fan of the large corporate companies. I'm a fan of small business owners, us as a community making a big movement happen. And to choose the 511 number was a pretty big stretch. When we started in January, we thought, man, 511, that's going to be a pretty hard number to push. We might even need to include our doors in the 511. We have 114 doors. And fast forward, long story short, 286 doors to date is phenomenal. We're so proud of what is happening in the Buildup Challenge. And this is kind of that extra pushing people into the game. I would say average, some people are doing 11 units. I have Richard Bruce in Mississippi doing 25 doors. And then I have some people building one personal house. But the beautiful thing is what we do in the 7-step is working. People are doing it both with and without the real estate experience. A few more of non-construction backgrounds. Nick, he's an insurance broker, 41K down, 160K profit. He actually already sold his house. Done, money's in the bank account, 390% return on his down payment. I'm telling you guys, Nick's doing it, you could do it. And now he bought his next personal house and he's gonna be building a beautiful home. Andrew, he's got himself 3 luxury specs in Houston, Texas. He's not leveraging other people's money. He's leveraging 0% interest credit cards. A little bit more of a leverage game. I told him, hey, do 1. He's like, no, I'm doing 3. And so he has around 160,000 in other people's money per deal, and then he's going to be at roughly $1 million of profit or more. Armando, he's a logistics broker, and he's doing a $1.5 million spec home, 127,000 down, 270,000 profit. Because of this project, he's now transitioning. He wants to become a full-time GC. Why? He actually really enjoys the general contracting side of things, and instead of being an insurance or a logistics broker and selling freight, he would rather actually build homes for himself and for others, plus invest into real estate as a developer.
Raina is a really good example of someone with no construction experience whatsoever. She was getting quotes in the $400 price per square foot range to build her house. We told her, easily we can get you at least to 200, 220. She wanted a nicer house, nicer finishes. We helped her get her actual GC license, get connected to subcontractors. And right now, she has already finished the tile in the home. She's already laid the hardwood. Cabinets are being installed right now. She's on track to finish her project in only 4.5 months. She started her own YouTube channel. You can look her up. She's showing her entire process.
It's going to be what? Raina_Westberg. So if you want to follow her journey of her building her own house. I know some of you might say like, well, do I need to hire a builder? No, you can actually build your own house. Some areas you have to get a contractor license. Other areas like Texas, you don't have to be a licensed contractor. You can build as an owner builder. So that's right in it for you. She has her own channel as well, and she's absolutely crushing it. And she realized this is a lot easier to build than she thought. And she's coming in at roughly $180 per square foot. So she's creating over $400,000 of equity on her home.
Jake is a really good example. We hired him to do our social media, to actually record the videos of us building. And right now he is in installation. He is in installation on his project. You could also, I mean, he only put down $43,000 and he's building a $1 million home. He's doing the exact strategy that we call the personal house game. He's gonna have over $100,000 of equity in his project. There's his Instagram handle. Go ahead, follow him.
I am Prince _. The cool thing is when he came on board, we started recording Reels content, and he's like, man, I'm inspired. I want to do this myself. So we said, okay, here, follow these steps. He started following the steps, got back feedback, said, here's your entire strategy for the next year for you to be building your house within the next 12 months. And now he's in construction, building a beautiful home. And he's leveraging and house hacking where he's gonna live in the ADU and rent out the first floor. So his payment of $4,500, he's only gonna actually have a $1,500 payment that he's paying. His renters are gonna be covering majority of his mortgage, but his appreciation is gonna continue on that $1 million home for both units, the house and the ADU. And because it's under one roof, one tax ID, he gets to take the personal house game tax-free advantage and profit. That's his plan. He's gonna live in it for the next year or two, sell it, and then scale into more doors and build himself a personal house as well. And he's got a YouTube channel as well. Same thing, I am Prince. He's posting all along the entire journey, start to finish. Because we're here local, he gets to collab with me and we share a lot about what he's doing. So you guys can go check out his page as well. And then we have tons of others in the Buildup community that are part of this challenge, that are crushing it. It's crazy. Brandon Cabrera is building in northern Washington, and he's building a house in Mexico. So he's got connections in Mexico, and he's like, I'm gonna take the same 7-step process and I'm gonna go do it in Mexico. So he's actually pouring foundation in Mexico, and he's framing in Washington. So that's been really cool. And he's also crushing it, doing some deals. Octavius is building in Georgia. I've got Ricky, who's built 5 homes. He's sold 2 already, made a profit on those 2, has 3 more in construction and active for sale. And then David's building a personal house. He got himself 5 acres, septic approved, and building a beautiful 2,600 square foot home. So now you guys have the roadmap. You guys have the formula. We walked through the entire process, everything that you have. And me personally, my story, how many of you guys are like me when it comes to getting into the development game? Took me 4 years to pull the trigger. Can you guys imagine? I'm working a full-time job. I'm like, okay, I want to do real estate. From when I want to do real estate to I'm actually building, 4 years. In between the 4 years, Ruben gets the lot. Actually, I found the lot. And I said, hey, I don't know if I want to build it. Ruben's like, dude, let me go build that lot. So Ruben takes the lot that I found, and I was too scared. And still, I had to wait for Ruben to build and finish the house and collect a check for me to realize I should do this. And so for me, it was, I need to see the process. I need to see the proof. I was not confident. I didn't really know the numbers. I was with this developer doing massive commercial sites, everything, but I couldn't translate it to me taking on the risk and me doing it myself. I was worried about making mistakes. Then eventually I took the leap. I built the 6 houses on the side with the builder. I was not the actual builder. I quit my job and I still made mistakes. I ended up paying over $400,000 in extension fees for those 200 doors. I built out a 12-unit project. It was a $3.6 million loan. It comes up due. I'm just finishing the build and I still have to rent it, post it for sale, and close on it. So I need 6 months. Well, the lender put me in a tight position. He's like, oh, well, your loan is due now. You have 15 days of grace period. No one's going to refinance you in 15 days. They have to get an appraisal. They have to make sure everything works. I'm like, okay. Do you have an extension fee? I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah, your extension fee is going to be 3%. Well, 3% of $3 million is a massive number. I'm like, I was not expecting that at all. So massive extension fees, 20, 30, 40,000. And I had 5 or 6 projects going like this. I don't have the money for the extension fee. Okay, we're gonna wrap it into the loan and give you a bigger loan. So they wrap in an extension fee that I'm paying when I sell the unit. That happened across the board of a ton of projects, learned a massive lesson. I didn't have somebody to show me how to do that. So I had all of these different things and all of these different mistakes that I made. Ruben got himself into debt. Ruben was willing to take the risk. I don't know if you want to share anything on that, where when you were taking that risk and you had to leverage somebody else's money and go in on it.
The biggest lesson that I learned, just like Arthur, you have to plan ahead. When we used to get 12-month loans, now we have learned to get 24-month loans or 18-month loans so that we have time to finish the project, rent it out if we need to, if it's commercial, and then actually sell it as a performing asset. And so you have to be mindful of those different things so that you don't get into a bad situation just like that, and so that you don't make those costly mistakes.
And this is what brings me to, we've built the 200 something doors. We have 100 in the pipeline. We've learned to scale and leverage our time where we're not doing this full time. And that brings me to Buildup, the Buildup Challenge, what we're doing with the Buildup community, where we are now consulting people while actively building projects. We're also consulting others and teaching them the entire process, making sure they don't make the same mistakes that we made. Here's what you get if you're part of the consulting package and working alongside with us, getting your first or next project. One, you get a personalized group chat with myself and Ruben, our cell phone, this exact cell phone I use, personal and business connected. Two, we're going to help you secure the lending. We have a partnership program where you can put 10% down. You don't need a builder on board. You don't need to have the experience on board. You get to put 10% down through the Buildup community. You can hire the builder, but they're not going to sign off on the loan. A lot of lenders will say, oh, the builder has to guarantee. No way, I'm not doing that. So you get to get on board with the Buildup. You get unlimited one-on-one coaching calls with our team through certified coaches that have done what I've done. One of my coaches has done 200 doors to date alongside me. You get the Buildup community, access to those building. Luke, for example, is doing 6 deals with 6 Buildup community students. I have, what is it? James and I forget his name. James is partnering with another student in Seattle.
Thomas.
They're doing 3 deals together. They're partnering. They got connected. I put them in a group chat, said, you guys got to work together. And I do weekly Zoom calls. So you have my personal cell. We're texting all the time. And you get weekly Zoom calls with me every single week. I break down every deal that I'm doing, all the offers I'm making, how I'm finding my deals, and then I answer all of our student questions on that call. And then you have 4 additional calls every week with our coaches as well, because I want to make sure you guys are successful. And so we'll give you the guarantee, build your home guarantee. We've done 286 doors to date. We know that it works. If you follow this and do the work, you guys will be successful. If you do all the work and it doesn't happen, I'll literally write the check back for the consulting fee. So what does this look like? This is for somebody that has $50,000 of capital or access to it. You want to deploy it. You're somebody that wants to work alongside with me. You want to build real assets. You don't want to flip houses or wholesale. You want to actually scale into development, or you're already doing development, but you want to scale the company. So like my student's doing 25 doors. One of our clients, he's doing a 25 unit development. You're coachable. You're ready to act. You're actually going to listen, and you're not just going to consume content. This is not content. This is, here's what you should do. Your next 3 steps, go actually do them. It's not for you if you're somebody that wants everything done for you. You want to have, you don't have the capital to get started on that first project, and you want to just do equity where you're like, oh, I'll just give you this, like do it, and then I'll get paid in the end. Those people I've noticed do not take action. It's the dumb for you people, okay? What does this look like? If you're interested, you want to work alongside me, I'm going to cap it because we're setting aside time for you guys to make sure you're successful. As we continue to push towards the Buildup Challenge, we then open it up again. So if you're somebody, you want to get into this game, you want to work alongside us, we'll jump into the Q&A right after this. 1, text BUILD. You're going to have to text BUILD to a number. We're going to give it to you on the next slide. Within a few seconds, you're going to get a link. You're going to click that link, fill out this application. It's going to ask you tons of questions to make sure and understand who you are, what you're trying to accomplish. Then, if you're approved, you'll book a strategy call with our team. It's going to be a one-on-one call. We're going to walk you through a roadmap of exactly what it looks like for your first or next project, depending on if you already have the land or you don't have the land, but you're looking. It all just depends on your situation. And then step 4, you're going to hit the ground running with me. We're going to jump in on calls every week, and we're going to help you push and start building. We'll cap it out. We're going to limit this because we're not going to take on a bunch of people and it's going to create workload. We're going to just make sure it's for the right people in the right group. That's why we have this application process. If you're interested, you're ready to work alongside with us, you can text 360-233-2470. You can text BUILD to that number. So just text BUILD to the 360-233-2470 number. You're going to get that link, and then we're going to get that first time process. Also, Jake, can you take us off the screen? I want to just show you guys Thessalonians 5:11.
This is our why.
Yeah, this is the why behind everything. 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another up and build each other up just as in fact you are doing. That is build up. That is what we're about. I remember when I was trying to get in the game for 4 years, I walked up to a fix and flipper. I said, hey, I'm trying to get in this game. Can you show me the process? And they all said no. Finally, a developer, somebody that is like level 3, gave me an internship, gave me an opportunity, and I got to learn the game, but I didn't have somebody to actually walk me through the step-by-step process. And so I then had to take a leap of faith and try it on my own. Now I'm here, I'm helping our Buildup students. We're going to crush the 511 goal, and then we're going to start building out across the entire nation. One day we'll compete with the national builders. So that's my goal.